Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Blank Pages with our special guests, Dani Sanchez and Jill Sava.
Welcome, welcome, girls.
I'm so excited to have you guys here today.
I'm excited to be here.
They look so excited. They're like, here we go.
What the hell is going to happen?
So for our audience, obviously we know you guys. Dani, I know you very personally, as I said every little thing to you. But for our audience who's tuning in, can you just tell a little bit about yourselves?
Jill, do you want to go first?
Oh, throw her under the bus. Go, Jill.
Sure.
You're up, Jill.
She's like, sure.
My name is Jill. In the book community, what I do now is I design, I do covers and graphics and formatting, and I work with authors. Like very short, like
it works.
She works with us crazy neurotic authors.
Jill is probably one of the people that I've known longest in the industry, huh, Jill? Yeah. So I'm Dani. I own my own PR company. So I own Wildfire Marketing, and I'm also an agent with SBR Media as well. So I do both. And I said, I've been around the industry for quite some time.
And how long is quite some time?
I probably came on maybe 2011. I think I started with.
So now you're calling me out, girl. That's when I came out.
I think it was like 2011. I started with Inkslinger and then started my own company like 5 years ago. But yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and
like
look.
11 or 12 years for me too.
That's the OG crew. Like 2011 was like
too.
that golden era. I think my first book at 2013, but 2011 was like that golden, first self-publishing books came out.
That's what everybody says, and I have to take your word for it because I was just a reader then.
You were just a little wee baby.
I don't even think I read 50 Shades yet in 2011.
It wasn't out. It wasn't out.
Yeah, it was. It didn't.
It was. Yeah, it was.
No, it was 2007 or 2000.
It was still to me at that time a off Twilight. It was one of those what do you call fan fictions.
It was
I don't think it actually.
So the film was in 2016. So the books had been out since I'm searching it right now. But it was very early publishing. Let me see. 2012. It was originally self-published in 2011.
Yeah.
And they were acquired by Vintage Books in 2012. Yeah.
I think I read it when it was self-published.
It was called
I knew
Master
about it
of
when
His
it was
Universe, I think, right? Yeah.
Now I feel old.
When it was still like a fan fiction. Yeah.
So me and my little study self, I was still a college nerd doing all of my sciences and not knowing that explicit novels even existed while you all were running the industry.
I started off as a science major, and I have always known steamy books were around.
Yeah.
How to find them.
You were lucky. You were one of the lucky ones. I knew women's fiction existed, but it wasn't until I quit the sciences that I was gifted 50 Shades of Grey and my life turned upside down. But you guys have been around to see a lot of changes. What do you think? This is a loaded question. What are the biggest changes, and where do you think the industry is headed with the patterns of changes and everything that's been happening over the years? That's a lot. We could talk for like a few hours.
Yeah, we could talk forever.
Especially on what's coming.
Yeah. I think the biggest change that I've seen is organic to non-organic. So like back in 2011, 2012, 2013, I mean, even 2015, you could put something out and expect and I'm not going to get to like book talk because there's things that can go organically, but literally you could put something out and expect like just to put it up on Facebook and expect to go just to grow organically. There were no ads. Nobody was doing newsletters. It was just, let me put my book out and, oh, wow, I can make USA Today. There is no USA Today like it used to be, right? So now you have to have this whole plan where you have to have an ad budget and you have to make sure that your newsletter is working and you have to make sure that you have all the stuff to where you didn't have to do that back in 2011. I mean, Jill works for Rachel, and I can say Rachel was probably one of my first clients when I first started. We didn't have to do that.
And this is Rachel
literally
Van
could-
Dyken,
Van
our
Dyken.
VD.
I mean,
Yes, the
I can tell
Rachel.
you, I want to say, Dani, was it like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
We surprise released a book on we didn't want to, but because of because Rachel had a traditional deal coming up and they changed the date, and so then we had like 12 hours to release our book, or have to wait like 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Literally not 12 hours, edited, formatted, and put it up, and it hit #1 for 2 weeks on the New York Times.
Oh, good
You
old
couldn't
days.
And
do
that was
now.
like 10 years ago.
That was
Yeah.
like 10 years ago. I mean, again, the good old days, right? Like that, I think that's the organicness of what has changed. I think what's changed the most between the timeline between the last 10, 12 years.
So there's definitely been monetization. Amazon also has changed their algorithm. USA Today and other lists have changed their requirements and curation. And there's also a lot of saturation now compared to back then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you say made like the biggest impact?
Amazon algorithms,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Because I mean, my first book, like first or second book, randomly, I would go in one day and I was #1 or #2, just out of the blue. Like my book had been out for a while. Now, like that, like unless you're their KU darling, never, ever, ever can happen. Like it just, like the things that they're suppressed, and like Facebook suppresses posts now unless you pay. And it just like now everything I feel is changed. Nothing is, like you said, truly organic. No readers used to put it out there and they'd be like, oh my God, a new book. They'd be so excited. Now they get, and I remember the change where you used to put out a book and you get a lot of excitement. Now it's like, or free books. Now it's like, so what, like they're not excited anymore because there's so many books every day coming out,
Right. I mean, there's so many books coming out. There's so many free books. And I mean, I think Stuff Your Kindle is a great thing, but when you have so many free books coming out when it is Stuff Your Kindle Day, I don't think readers know what to put on their Kindle at that time and then what to read after that. So it does make it hard when you don't know what to read. And on top of that, then people are releasing, and it's just this saturation of books, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And then
And then you miss the books that you do want because views and
Absolutely.
engagement have changed so dramatically. I feel like it's going down the thing. First Facebook, and then those views were like non-existent. And then Instagram was great. Then it went not so great for a while. Reels are doing well now. It just seems like it's continuously every time you've mastered something,
It changes. Yeah. That's one of the most consistent things, is that as soon as you figure it out, it's going to change.
Yep.
And it's not even
that
just
is
change.
the consistent thing.
Yeah, it's not just changed for good. They change because money, or I'm like, I swear to God, there's like, especially, I remember Facebook every time you turn around, there'd be like, we have a new format. I'm like, are you guys just bored over there? Like, that you have to fill a job. Like TikTok especially gets me, like right now that it's kind of newly taken over by America, and they've just messed it up. Like it used to be organic. Like you used to find things that you wanted to watch and stuff. Like now it's, again, they suppress you if you don't have a shop, if you don't like advertise, if you don't like, so now it just becomes like anything. I feel like everything that was good, they have to ruin. That corporation just has to ruin it. I'm like, we loved how you were. Stay that way. That's what we loved about you,
And we knew how to do it. But it's kind of like the Zoe Bub when we're talking about like saturation. Zoe Bub, for those of you who don't know, it's a bunch of free books all at once. Instead of the book bub, it's the Zoe Bub. And I think everybody who I know, like we all see a dip in our gross income when the Zoe Bub comes out, whether you're on it or not. And I think it's because a lot of the readership who are very active on social media, they see it and then they have a ton of books and they download a ton of them, but it only lasts a few days. And then they have a Kindle full of ebooks that they got for free, and they're already on the prowl for what's new. What is everybody talking about? What's the new hook? And there is this sense of community around it, I think, especially on TikTok.
Mhm.
It's crickets. Everyone here hates TikTok, don't you? No.
I don't hate it. It's just, it serves its purpose.
Yeah.
It's like how I feel about Facebook and Amazon. Like, it's like I'm in a toxic relationship with them all and I can't break up. Yeah.
Okay, Stacey said it perfectly. I think it's a toxic relationship with each different social media outlet. I can say the same thing about Facebook. I can say the same thing about Instagram. And Willow and I have had this huge talk about Instagram every day for the last 2 weeks, right? And it's just Instagram used to be, up until about 2 months ago, that one constant where you're like, oh, I can post on Instagram and I know that I'm going to get likes, or I know I'm going to get engagement. And now it's just like, the hell happened? Like,
But then,
so
and also though, you knew that you were safe when you went on Instagram. You weren't as likely to get hit in the face with any of the negative going on.
Mhm.
Unless you
Right.
have a reel go off. There are, like, I feel like it sends it to anybody on a reel.
Mm.
Yeah, but that's like if you get a viral.
Right. But I mean, when it first started, that's why a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of people went over to Instagram because it was calm and it was pretty.
It
And
was
all the pictures
peaceful.
were pretty. Yes.
And now it's just not like that anymore. So that's what I'm saying. It's like now I think each platform is a toxic relationship at this point. It's highs and lows, right?
Even your
So-
Facebook groups, those used to be like home,
Ugh.
and now you barely get seen, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
like so weird. Like, it was such a comfortable place. I knew that the people who, like, I used to post good morning and good night every day, and I knew the names of the people. And then they just started suppressing it, and it was like they're not even seeing it anymore. These people who I developed that relationship with, that made me happy and that kept me going. But it's because it was monetized.
And I
Like-
think also because there's so many. So when we first all started with readers groups, at first it was street teams before there was like actual street teams before there was reader group. And there it wasn't now. Like now, I'm afraid I could go look, and I'm sure we all can look at how many groups we're in.
Ugh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
I
can you
need to say
Groups
more,
people
like,
added me to, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
and
Oh,
can you
you have to say it
explain?
because you have to be nice and politically correct. Yes.
Can you explain
Well-
for our audience what street teams are? Because I bet a lot of authors and readers have no idea what
yeah.
you're talking about.
This-
because
this
it's been
hurts.
so
That
long.
means
I know.
I'm that old.
Dani might be able to tell us more about what it is now, because we switched things up with Rachel and stuff like that. But back in the beginning, those were your hardcore readers. Those were the readers that would go out and plaster everything, every book, everything they loved, all on Facebook. And it was a smaller group. I don't remember the year it started changing, but we could probably also see that when we all started moving towards readers groups and review teams, as opposed to the street team that was more condensed and that tended to have your ARC reviewers on it. I think with the saturation with all the new indie authors that came out there, those street teams didn't serve as much of a purpose, because your huge fans may also be the huge fans of 10 other people, and you can't, like, they couldn't do it all anymore. It became more a job. And I feel like you hear that a lot with bloggers when things change from being fun and interactive and personal to feeling more like a job.
When I started, it
And
was
then when people try to pull themselves back, they're burnt out. There's so many people
Mhm.
I don't see anymore that we used to see all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, turnover is a real thing for romance readers because things change in our real lives. But when I first started, you just mentioned bloggers. And when I started in like 2016, 2017, it was all about the bloggers. But they had at that point started to monetize. And you didn't have to pay them for a review, right? That's against terms of services. You could
ads.
send them exactly ads. If you wanted them to post it in different areas and you wanted them to run ads, you had to pay them. But it was nothing like
Like,
what people
Yeah.
want now.
It's a little out of
Like
control now.
it was like, I think it was like $200 to run the ad page a month. And then you were paying for ad costs, which Facebook was controlling. Now you have a lot of TikTokers who want thousands of dollars for a
Yeah.
30-second review. And
Mhm.
from what I've heard from a lot of authors, you are not seeing your ROI. But that is what the competition is in KU to stay in the top ranks. That you have to pay this just to get up there, just to try to get some other kind of traction, which is like insane. Like that is a pay to play that is, I think, never seen before in the industry.
For
Well,
sure.
and it's so not, you know, like you could have the best book, but you might not have the money to, you know, so it's all about fake, like, you know, again, the most people that have with the most money are the most willing to do the shady shit are going to get the top, you know, like I hate when people are like, oh, good people win in the end. No, they don't. Exactly not, you know,
I
like it's
think we
about
do in the
money.
very end. The FTC
Oh,
is going to come
Willow.
around. The FTC always comes around. Every couple of years, a hammer comes down. And the things that, because we're not talking about anything shady yet. We have not, paying for ads is not shady. It can
No,
be
no, no.
expensive
But
and it can be pay to play and it
it's
can
a
create,
business model.
it is.
Yes.
And it creates an imbalance in terms of success. But like you said, there are some shady things happening. And I do believe, what is it? Water always finds its level. That is what I believe. So yeah, so there are some shady things also occurring, but I think that the cost of advertising just simply has gone up substantially, whereas the pay per book has gone down.
Mhm.
And that's where it really sucks. For at
That's
least
the
newer
one thing
authors.
that I have seen that is in the industry that has changed a ton is the cost of advertising. And it's not like seeing, because I run ads, and it's not just the fact that authors are spending a lot, which they are, but it's the fact that these companies are increasing costs where it's causing authors to have to spend so much, if that makes sense. Like on the back end of running an AMS ad to be seen, it's not cheap. That's not, again, on the author's of what the author has to be spent or has to spend to be seen is really not on the author. Where it used to be way back when AMS ads, and I think Brian Cohen was doing his, you know, first ad courses and stuff. He's like, oh, you can spend 10 cents on an AMS ad.
Oh,
Isn't that
Right.
cute?
Oh, isn't that
10 cents.
exactly so
Yeah.
cute?
I love how careful you were in presenting this also. Like it was like you were navigating the minefield of what is the current like standards in the industry. Because it's true.
Yes, I mean, but I can remember taking that Brian Cohen course and listening to it years ago. I mean, it's nothing now, but pre-COVID, way before that, probably 2016. I don't know when I started running AMS ads, but it literally was like, don't spend more than 10 cents at, bidding on a name. And I'm like, you could not get crap right now if you bid. If you bid on a name for 10 cents, you will not get seen. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So the cost that Amazon is using to drive that up, that's Amazon on some of it. I mean, I guess that it is some of the bidding on authors bidding things up as well, but some of that's Amazon. The same thing on Facebook, right? Like the cost to be seen as a platform driving up cost as a pay to play site. It's Amazon too running up. I mean, you can see it when you're trying to run an ad for somebody. It's like Amazon knows. I mean, Facebook knows. Oh, you know what? There's people that are going to run ads on Tuesday. Let me hike that up. So if you run $100 on an ad, you can only, it's only visible to 3,000 people. But if I spend $20 on an ad on a Friday, it's visible to 8,000 people. Like, you know what I mean? It's insane that the numbers go like that. But
And it's true. They also do, as soon as you do start getting seen and more up there, they'll pull it back, right? And be like, okay, now you have to pay more. Like,
oh, you have to
that,
pay
which
more.
is, I just,
So-
it was like that on Facebook.
don't tell me
too. As
that's
soon as
not
you started
shady.
doing ads, you couldn't.
exactly that. exactly. Don't tell me that's not shady.
I do think there are a few ways to combat these new problems and new issues. One of which would be, having items that are a higher ROI so that your investment in advertising is it's easier to get back, right? Like having special editions and making sure that you're selling hardbacks as well as direct sales. And I do personally feel like that is the direction that a lot of the industry is going. And it is a consequence essentially of Amazon and Facebook having these harder ad costs, as well as the profitability of self-publishing lowering if you're only using these avenues.
100%. I mean, I recommend to all of my clients, I'm like, direct sales. If you can put a site on your store and you can get that direct money in, why not? Why are you splitting it with Amazon at this point?
I'm
Yeah.
also hoping that Kobo Plus takes off more.
Yes.
Yes.
They're
You
doing
need to
the-
advertise more. People don't
Yeah.
really know about them.
Yeah.
Like,
So there is a YOLO for Kobo that I just
boy.
learned about. I know Samantha Cole told me about it on a retreat. There's a Facebook group called YOLO for Kobo, and I applied for it, but it's essentially like the authors are doing the advertising for Kobo, basically, but it's working. And there is a return on investment for this. And it's not like Zoe Bub because they're not free, but it's like a Zoe Bub that actually pays you, and it's gathering attention for Kobo Plus. I personally, if you for our audience, if you don't know, Kindle Unlimited is a monthly subscription. It's I think $19.99 a month or $9.99 a month if they have a promotion for it, and it's read everything that you want to read that Amazon has in Kindle Unlimited, which is an exclusive contract that authors sign with them. They're not allowed to have their books anywhere else. Kobo created Kobo Plus, which is non-exclusive and the same thing. So authors can have their books everywhere, but Kobo offers unlimited reading for those books that are enrolled for readers. And I believe their cost is $9.99 a month. So you get unlimited, which
for authors, that's the dream we want. Like, don't,
Yes.
Amazon just wants to keep us, we only want your money. Like, so they keep us pinned there. And like to have Kobo is like, that's the author's dream. So if guys if you want to support authors, go to the Kobo.
Yes.
Dani
YOLO for
and I were
Kobo.
talking about this recently, and I think yes, people don't know as much and don't understand Kobo Plus or what they can read Kobo on. That's the same thing we had however long ago when Kindle Unlimited first came out. And Kindle Unlimited first came out and no one knew. And we had to take, like, as the community, we invested significant time and things into teaching people what Kindle Unlimited was and how they can use it. I think we've been in it so long that we forget that we kind of have to do that for Kobo too. Like if we want Kobo to take off, it's not just putting on all of our pages, oh, this is available in Kobo Plus. Because I can tell you, my mom would look at me and be like, what's that? What does that mean? What do I need to do? Like we need to teach it.
Definitely. So if you're a Kobo Plus reader, you should totally post about it today. Also, like, follow, and subscribe to our pages.
You're there.
Nice little plug.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
yeah.
I definitely agree with that on the Kobo Plus. I think that there's just not a lot of people who know exactly what Kobo Plus is. And I think it's just being more informative about it.
Or willing to move from Amazon. People are so stuck in what they know and like, oh, I'm getting a mop, plus I can grab a book, so it's really hard to change people. I mean, like how many times have we all been like, let's leave Facebook, let's, a new app started and we've all like, let's leave. Nobody leaves because, it's like, well, this is what I know. And so it is hard, getting people to try this and finding out maybe they'd like it more, but right now they, it's really hard to kind of, like you said, we spent so much time teaching how to use Kindle Unlimited. Now, how do you unteach and move them to something else?
It's
like
like
just
we're all
as
the
easy.
heroine in our favorite dark romance book. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about Facebook and Amazon at this point.
Exactly. I think that Kobo is going to have a lot of heavy hitters that exclusively advertise the Kobo Plus, even though it's non-exclusive, in order to get a lot of traction there. But the YOLO for Kobo is making some headway, and I love to see it. And step by step, I think it's going in the right direction. I mean, originally, I think Kobo Plus was only in, I believe, Canada, and it's only 2 or 3 years ago that they opened it up to the
I
US.
don't even think it was that long ago.
Yeah,
I
very
think,
Yeah.
recent.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm ready to make some waves though. I think making waves is the way to progress. So, and I'm here for the new indie authors coming in and being able to make this a career like I was able to 8 years ago. And I do think it's substantially more difficult now for newer authors. And it's very quick flames for a lot of authors now too, who do find success because it's so quickly is gone and it's more difficult to hold on to.
It's funny that you say that. So I think that that's another thing that is different between 2011, 2012 to now. Is I guess maybe the expectation
Yeah.
is the other thing. I think because of TikTok, some who come out see a quick rise, and they expect to stay there. Some other newer authors, when they release their first book, they expect, oh, they think that that's the trend that, oh, by, book 4, I should be in the top 100, I should be in the top 10. But that's not necessarily the road traveled by the majority of authors in general, romance authors, right? And so I think that that's the other trend that I've seen that's a little bit different, where it took a little bit longer time for maybe those that were early on, or they saw that little roller coaster, right? You bumped up, you came down, you bumped up again. And I don't know if all have experienced that, or all think that that's the way that it is, or, maybe they're like, oh, I climbed up really fast and I'm going to stay here. I think I use the word with another client of mine that everything is cyclical in this industry, in all industries, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
including styles of your jeans. It is cyclical. They will come back.
yeah.
Yeah. But like
not the mom jeans,
this is just a curious question. So 10 years ago, I bet you guys had 10, 20, 30 authors who were tried and true and who were the biggies back then, right? How many still exist now?
Mhm.
Ooh, not as many as you think anymore.
Yeah, probably
I
not
feel
as
like
many.
there's like 4 or 5 that are still around today. I think Colleen Hoover, like those were they came out around then, but then there was a whole bunch of them, I think, and I've talked to some of them that said they got success right out the gate and then did not know how to fight for it. Where I feel like at 2013 when I came out, I had to continually fight for it. It wasn't something like, oh, you're the golden child and you're gonna, they didn't realize when things started changing and the market started changing, the flood, and more people were writing, and this, no longer was it. There was always still a stigma on indie writers, but it wasn't. It started to lower. It started people going, okay, I want to do this, and so the flood just came in, and I don't think there was a lot of people that could keep going. They didn't realize the fight that was in front of them, and so I saw a lot slowly bow away.
Mhm.
And I think if they came back, people would be like, oh, but I just
it's
don't think a
harder
lot.
if you look at
Yeah.
anyone now. I mean, I have some people like Dani is too, who we used to work with that aren't around, that are on Facebook, but they're not writing anymore. If you look at any of the posts, because a lot of authors did stop during the pandemic when things were really crazy.
Yes.
And if you look at them trying to come back now, they're scared. They're like
Mhm.
back. Not that it's wrong to be scared. I'd be scared too. They're back to like, as a debut author, needing to learn everything, needing to build up a base that hasn't seen them in years and years. And I think that's making it a lot harder for some of those people to come back.
Absolutely. I mean, Facebook doesn't exist like it did. So their fan base is essentially scattered and they're not able to reach them like they used to reach them. And now the marketing has changed. The cost of being in this industry has changed. Yeah. So I can't even imagine leaving for a few years and then coming back because I feel like everything changes every couple of months. But it's also kind of crazy that 2020 was a great year financially for romances and lipsticks because we all wanted to feel good, and it's romance novels and lipstick that makes us feel good. But a lot of people did leave because I mean, half of the population has trauma, post-traumatic stress from COVID, just because of a number of reasons. So I can understand creativity being stunted. I know personally, I went back to my small town romances and rewrote them and re-edited rather than writing new, because it was so difficult. But it's crazy that when money was really easily attainable in that year before a very hard crash, so many authors, I think, checked out. They pieced out.
A lot too was the negativity that came with
Oh,
COVID,
yeah.
where everyone had a keyboard and nothing else to do. And so it just went wild, wild west on everything.
It did. Social
Yeah.
media
And it got
definitely.
scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And exhausting. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people just were like, it's not worth it anymore to me, especially if they were doing something else, or, they had kids and they decided that, I saw a lot of people step back and go, this is just not worth it. This
Mhm.
atmosphere, like, I feel like the only thing that trickled down was awful, people being horrible to each other. It just felt like that all the time. It was negative, and I still feel it's there, and I would like this to turn around
Oh,
with that. And
100%. I
you
just had
Mhm.
somebody
But-
comment that I was going to hell. You're all going to hell. Repent for your sins. And
I'm
I'm
I
like,
just
oh, good. It's warm down there.
We'll
It's cold here,
probably
so
all
I'm
be there
loyal.
together.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll be in.
Oh, there's a bar.
We get to bring our books.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I
there's some
still
days. I
see
mean,
some authors doing that now though too. Like some are that were back in that same time, the 2012, 2013.
myself.
They're slowly kind of moving out as well, or they're changing what they want to write. I just saw one recently post about that. Like they're just I guess maybe different way of thinking, or just again don't want to keep up with it, social media, financially, however. Yeah, I
And it
think
makes
they're.
me go ahead.
Oh, I was like, I think it's just maybe it's just the mindset, maybe it's trauma, maybe it's just getting tired of it. I don't know.
I also think it's a lot of hats we have to wear that I don't feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
back in 20, when we first started, yes, we had to wear them, but it didn't feel like this brutal all out battle all the time, and how many hats we have to wear. And then you have to compete, like Willow is doing this always. She's an A+ student. And then you're like, okay, so it's like that. I think it is exhausting. Some days I'm like, why am I doing this? So I could see a lot of people going, I've had enough.
And the fact that they're getting it, some of the authors are getting attacked for their changes, for their
Mhm.
reasons, although it's none of our business. If
Mhm.
that's what they want to do, that's what they're going to do. We don't need their reasons, but they're getting attacked anyway, which makes you really sad.
It's a
That I
really,
think
really
is the
sad.
exact problem that especially I think it became significantly worse during the pandemic, where people were not leaving their house. And so they all felt like they were best friends with you guys as authors, like it's not like the same actors don't sit one-on-one and answer. There are people who watch them on TV, like that doesn't happen. But you guys as authors were all doing that. So then they feel personal. So when you then want to make a change, which I fully believe you should make what change is best for you, but I think then the readers they take it personally now. Like, are you saying that that's the type of books I read? So that those aren't good books to read? Like, no, we all grow. If you guys are not growing at all, go away. You would be so bored. You're supposed to grow throughout your life. But society is not tolerant of that anymore.
No.
I think that society on the whole is, or at least a reasonable percentage, but the people who aren't are rather loud,
So
and
loud.
it goes
Mhm.
viral. One thing that
Oh,
we
yeah.
have today, and that started in 2020 that we didn't have back then, is the ability for individuals who have absolutely no background, no credibility, no fan base to go viral in a single post. So they can say anything off the wall. It doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be true. They don't even have to have meant it to go viral. It could have been something that they probably should have sent to, their bestie or a therapist. And instead they're saying it out there in the public, and it's getting mass views all of a sudden. And that's something that wasn't possible back then. Right. And then
no
you
one
have trolls.
investigates.
Yeah, no, well, but then you have trolls who aren't
That's a
even
good one.
necessarily in the community. And then you have the impact of somebody who does not exist with a background or credibility to be making those claims, garner the attention of individuals who come in bad faith. And
you
that
would
is a
probably
new
be, yeah.
obstacle that we have to learn how to combat. And my answer to that is to just block and be block.
But it's hard though, because I mean, you as a also ex-scientist, my sister's a scientist, and all these people, you know, we could go on the bigger scale of all these people that didn't even pass biology going like, my opinion, you know, everybody has to have their opinion, and it has to be, there's no like, we can banter now. We can like, okay, you see it that way. It's like, you must believe exactly what I do, or I'm going to try to cancel you, or like, I'm going to get people after you, or, I mean, it's such an extreme now of just like, okay, you don't like my post, or you don't like my book, keep scrolling, put the book down, you know, to like go out of your way. I remember like there still seems to be a wave of a lot of people, like, because of the clicks, the views, wanting to be like, let's talk about the books I hated, like, you know, and getting like off on that. And you're like, it's so cruel. And I'm like, I'm a human being. And if I said anything to you like that, you'd probably be crying in the corner, but it's okay to, you know, and I'm like, it's not like you can have your right to how you feel, but I think a lot of people were doing it for that, I don't know, that's righteous thing, like, you know, and we were just talking about
views
that.
and follows, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
but
like
like
some
And a
virtue
rush.
signaling, it's called rage baiting. You
Yeah.
rage bait and virtue signal, and then you're going to get your views and your follows. But I also think that that has happened so much that there's almost an exhaustion of that as well,
I
where
hope
it's
so.
not getting the same response
Yeah.
as it used to.
I'm
But
noticing
again,
that on
that's another
TikTok.
big change, right? Like
Mhm.
when we started, that would never have happened. Like, could you imagine when you first started, if one of those big, well, back in the day, it was Blogger, was like IG enough to all these books. Like, if that was a post, like,
Yeah,
But there
well,
that-
was
like,
that-
one. But there was
Oh.
one. 'Cause I can think of one
Yeah, there was
right off the
one.
top of my head. That I was
But-
like, and I know Dani just thought of her
It's
too.
fine, but I mean, that never would have happened. And now it's just, it's so
it's
open out there.
commonplace. Yeah, people
But-
are
But yeah,
proud to
and
do
that-
it.
But when it was done then, it wasn't, it was not, you only knew if you looked specifically for that. Like, you know,
Mhm.
like if you were going through one, like you do when you go through 1-star reviews.
Yeah.
Here you can't escape that anymore.
Yeah.
Do you
and
think it's
And they tag
because
you.
do you think it's because back then we were such a community? It was very close knit. And then there's
smaller.
there's like a disconnect almost where they don't really understand that there's people behind the words and that it affects them.
I think
Where
they're
before,
learning
like we were
now.
all so close.
Yeah. Well, I think
I
they're
don't
learning
know.
now because these individuals who have made a lot of comments and gotten into these moral arguments where it has absolutely nothing to do with problematic behavior. Someone just felt like someone else was being a bitch, but they decided to say all of these things. And then they're running into each other at book signings. And I think
That
that
happened.
this younger
Yeah.
group of people
Like-
didn't realize, like, oh, I'm going to destroy this person's life, and then I'm going to see them on Thursday. Like, like I think that like they didn't realize how small this community is and how everybody does know everybody. And these authors have like cried on each other's like hotel beds at author retreats or like I don't think that it occurred to them. A lot of them are learning now, but that's a part I think of the learning curve. But it is quite odd when, you know, I assume you, well, I know for a fact when you see somebody, you're like, oh, I blocked that person because they said I should go kill myself. Like it's a little
And
bit.
then they come and they're nice to your face and you're like,
And they're like,
"Hi."
"Hi."
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I just think we should go back to the whole, if you can't say something nice, you know,
Yeah.
don't say it at all kind of thing. Like, why,
Yeah.
like, we've lost that. Like, that seems to be.
Okay, I'm like, it's hard. I think, okay, we're an industry that's mostly women, right?
Yes.
You would think that it would be more supportive as an
Women,
industry of
women.
women, but it's so not. And I've
Yeah.
seen it not just with influencers, not just author to author, but you see it within the industry just an industry as a whole. Like I've seen from PR to PR, like don't use that person. That if you ever use that person, I'm never talking to you again. If you ever use that editor, I'm never talking to you. Or if you ever using you again. If you use that cover designer, don't ever come back to me to do a cover again. Like it's across the board.
Mhm.
And I just think as a whole, it's like it's not positive vibes. Like
No.
you would think.
Yeah, we could go back to the whole psychology. Women are raised to be against each other. We're not
Yeah.
raised to be kumbaya. We're always like, oh, with the one cute boy, we're all fight. We've always kind of been like that one position as like somebody in a work. Like I don't know. It's just society tends to have women against each other instead of supportive. And I've seen it everywhere in every country I've lived. Women like go after each other instead of like the guy, like they find their boyfriend cheating, they go after the woman. And she's like, I didn't know, it's like sad. And I wish we could change that and I feel like there is a slow movement, which, things do happen slowly, that we are getting more like, no, screw them, let's come together. But it's still in the industry. Like, you're going to find we tend to be more catty. We tend to hold grudges, where guys are like, we're over it,
And we're competitive.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I mean, it's again, there's going to be negatives that like we can't all look like, oh no, we're all wonderful towards each other. Sadly, it's not that way all the time. I wish it was, and we could keep working to get it that way. But
I do think the vast majority, though, of us are amazing, right? It's just the percentage that sucks is just very loud, and it leaves a lot of hurt in its path, and then it causes some suspicion or trust issues and things of that nature. But overall, I think we kind of fucking rule. Just putting that out there. Yeah.
Definitely the good always outweighs the bad in overall sense. But there is that like underlining thing where you're going to see in the industry that we are like, okay, but I think there's good things that we can keep pushing, especially the woman power, like especially romance. I think that makes a lot more community stronger.
Definitely.
And we have to lead by example.
I feel bad because we haven't said anything good in the changes.
We have actually. I think, I think there's been a lot of positive vibes in here, even though we've gone deep and talked some real talk. But Dani, take it away. Hit us with some high notes.
There's some great things that I've seen. I'll give a shout out to Amazon. There's some nice things.
I'm prepared.
Here's some positives that weren't back then that are now, like the ability to really play around with your keywords to help you. I'll just leave it at that. I could go to the negative, but I'm just going to go to the positive.
Yeah. Well, we have done. I mean, as an industry, we're definitely promoting more sex positivity, which we've seen on social media.
But you can't use it on an ad. But
correct. The marketing and monetization haven't reflected it yet. We've also seen a series of charity anthologies when there have been natural disasters like Hawaii and Australia. There have been absolutely some positives that still remain and or that are easier now than they were before. There was a whole little tongue twister there for Matthew.
But kind of going back to Willow's first, like she mentioned first, what do you guys see in the future? Like what you're doing now, do you see like not just trends, but like for everything in the industry, where do you see it kind of heading? Like growing wise?
I see a lot. I mean, Willow, I've talked to Willow about a few things. It's really funny just because I think that we're going to see, like right now, I feel like it's very paperback focused right now. I think that we're going to see that probably still, because that's how it was. I mean, when E.L. James popped out, there was a lot of publishers were buying paperbacks, and that's kind of what you're seeing now. So you're seeing publishers buy a lot of paperbacks right now. And then that trend went away. And I have a feeling that trend's going to go away, and you're going to probably see a surge of ebooks again. Again, everything's cyclical, right? So
I'm curious to know how the contracts that were signed with this trend in mind, what happens to them when this trend ends. I'm curious to watch a lot of things because we can see that trajectory. And it's just a matter of who is going to persist and what the next thing is, I think.
I think it's going to be a little, though. I think ebooks are going to become bigger. I don't think paperbacks are going out too soon, just because those newer readers, they're newer, younger, not new people who only started reading, at 50. those were the people that 10 years ago would only read paperbacks. My nieces, even my nephews, they were like, look, they're like, why? I don't want an e-reader. Go get me a paperback book. I'm like, guys, you haven't looked up from your phone all day, but you want a paperback book? Like, it makes no sense to me.
Well, that's
But
part of the reason
that
why.
is what they are.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
They're
But
escaping with the paperback so they don't get that notification that they got a
Mhm.
message.
they're
Yeah.
a lot smarter than what we have done.
Yeah.
But those people are now going to be in their 20s and coming to actual romance books now. Like graduating up.
One of the things I like to ask is, do you have a high high and do you have a low low? You can always skip the low low, but sometimes it is helpful to hear it as well. We'll start with Jill. High high that you've experienced in the industry and or a low low, or you can nix the low low.
I'll start with the low low so I can end on a higher.
I love
Because because of what we talked about earlier, where there are so many keyboard warriors and they're behind a screen, people are free to say anything and also to make up any lies that they want about you. And it's really hard to combat that because they're not saying it where you can see it. They go behind your back. There have been tons of completely untrue things passed on about me in this community. And most of the reason why they're untrue is because I'm on bed rest. I've been on bed rest for 10 years. I'm not looking to go out and do anything because I can't. I'm no longer allowed. For the last 4 years, I've not been allowed to go anywhere except the ICU and home. So that's not for pity. That's just,
No, but
please don't. That's
pity.
also life. I am okay.
I hope those people stub their toes.
And get a
so
paper
mean.
cut.
You're so mean.
But like that's how like you can tell that a lot of it is just ridiculous because it's not things I could possibly ever do. And if I wasn't on bed rest, to be frank, I'd be in my original career, not here.
I wouldn't be here.
If it makes you feel any better, somebody on Reddit said I beat my husband. So
And well, Sean's like, yeah, but that's totally like another.
I was a willing participant.
People
Like,
just
yeah,
sucks. If you aren't, what is it? You're not popping if you don't have haters. So
There you go.
But that also leads to my high because I have been on modified bed rest. Oh my gosh, for 10 years and essentially complete for the last 5. And without this book community, without the ability to meet and talk to people online, for Rachel Van Dyken to push me every time that, like when I first was told that I could no longer work and I was declared completely incapacitated, and I was working 80-hour weeks, so to go from that to
It's like, what?
yeah, can't do anything, it would have killed me. But because I had randomly met authors and stuff like that online, that was like, oh wait, here, go learn that. And so it gave me a chance to have a life, to have something that I enjoy, to learn new things. Without this community, I'd only see my nurse and my parents. That's it. And I feel like I owe my life really to being here, because if I didn't, like, I wouldn't have fun so hard to still be here 10 years later.
I love that so hard. Dani, that's going to be a really hard one to
I know,
top.
I'm
Like,
crying.
I know. I apologize for saying Jill should go first.
Good luck, Dani.
That's a surprise.
She's still.
Sorry.
Okay. I have to go next. Jeez.
Yep. It's just
Okay.
you two. So unfortunately for you.
They hear from us all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, I'll do the same thing. I'll go low, low, and then high, high. So I think low would be, I just as a business owner, having people you don't completely trust that you have, as people that work for you. And I've had, and I think any author probably has that same experience, that you bring somebody on your team, and they've backstabbed you in some kind of way. And I've had that, in my 5 years of business, and it's been sad to have that happen. You've had friendships that you've lost because of it, and things like that. And then of course, because this is a girl community, they go out. It's the same thing, right? They go out and they say things about you that aren't true. And so of course I've had to deal with that. And it hasn't been the most pleasant. So that I'll just end on that. Like, that's the low. But my high is I'm lucky that I started my own business, and I have these authors that are amazing. Like, I have a core group, and I'm not just saying this because it's Willow.
I was like, yes, we are.
I just have a tribe of authors that are so great that I can literally turn to for anything. I've made friendships with many of them that I can just be like, oh my God, this happened today. And it's been amazing with, and it's a group of authors that aren't drama filled, that aren't, they're good people. And that's what I've wanted to set out with my business. So that's like my high, is that I have just a good core base of clients that I represent. So there's my high.
I love that. If you have any questions for these two, ask them below. We'll make sure that they see them. Like, follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And with that, I think we're going to say bye-bye. Bye. See you next time.